Welcome back to the channel. This week on the Kiwi Barefoot Gardener, we finally get out the cucurbits, i.e. the zucchini, the scallopini and the pumpkins out into the raised beds. We have a chat about lavenders and lavender care, especially around care in summer. And I also get the Kumara and Yams in very late, but they get in. Come potter with me in the garden. My name is Dawn and I am the Kiwi Barefoot Gardener. Good afternoon. Well, it is Sunday the 23rd, I'd like to say, of November. And I'm out the back. It's the afternoon. It's just after lunch. And as I said at the end of last vlog, I am so behind. It's just not funny at the moment. So I'm chasing my tail. So one of the things I need to get done today is to get my courgettes and my pumpkins in. So just having a look at what I've got and that I've hardened off outside. I've got a standard green courgette, the Black Beauty, and I've got a yellow courgette, Sun Gold. So they'll be the two that I put in. I'm pretty sure I've got a couple in the greenhouse. Definitely, well, fingers crossed, I've got some scallopini. So I just need to check on that because I do want to put a scallopini in here. Actually, I might have one out hardening off, so I might go and check that in a sec. Pumpkin wise, I've got my standard Crown Prince, and I've got a Golden Nugget and a Sugar Baby, something like, no, Sugar Baby's the melon. Small Sugar is the pumpkin. I want to get in some butternut, and I have got some sitting in the greenhouse, but they're tiddly, and they don't seem to be doing that well. So I might nip off in a sec before I put these in and grab the scallopini that I know I've got sitting outside, which is a green tint, so it's just a standard green one, and just have a check to see how the butternuts are going, because they do like it warm. Butternut, they take definitely take longer to germinate, and they prefer the warmer weather to actually start producing flowers and growing, whereas the Crown Prince isn't so picky about the heat. It's quite happy in the high teens, whereas the butternut prefers around, you know, the low 20s to actually start doing something consistently. So hold the phone and I'll go and have a look. So I found a couple more. So that's the green tint scallopini. So that's the saucer things, you know, look like little flying saucers. I had planted yellow ones, but I think I've got rid of them all. And this one's a bit tiny, but I might try it. And this is, I think they're called Courgettes. So it's a dark green, light green, stripy one. And I did these last year and they were really nice. A lot firmer than the Black Beauty, and definitely firmer than the yellow ones. Yeah, because yellow ones go quite squishy. So yeah, so I'm going to plant these and we'll go through what I'm going to get up to with them. So you're not going to be able to see me in this because I want you to be able to see what I'm doing, but my beds are approximately 1.2 metres across, which is a nice size width-wise for a raised bed. Any wider and it's harder to get to the middle easily. And definitely with the ones that I've got up against the fence, they're only 600 wide, so I can get to the back. But what I can do on these beds is I usually get 2 courgette plants fairly close to the edge on either side, giving them plenty of room in the middle to grow, and then they can just drape down the sides. That's not a problem. Now, we put some compost on this the other week and we put some blood and bone, but I'm also going to put some sheep pellets around the base of these or underneath them. But what I wanted to show you is just a little trick to help them when they first go in. is just to make a dip for them, and then of course your hole for them. Which one's this? This is the Black Beauty, so just check to see, yeah, a bit deeper. Yep, that'll be fine by the time I do it. And I'm just gonna, excuse the rattle, put a bit of sheep pellets down there, a bit of a mix up. Check my size, yep. Okay, so label there. And these haven't actually put a lot of roots out into these pots because they probably haven't really been in them that long. But they should be fine. And then just pop them in. The reasons I've got this little bamboo stakes there is just to keep the plant upright, especially because these were sitting in the wind and I didn't want them to snap at the neck. Right, now I've got this little shallow dip. I'll put the label in. I'll put the label in here so I can see it later. It doesn't get buried. Now I've got this shallow dip. Now the reason for that is just to help with the watering initially. Over time it's going to fill in and it won't be a problem because the plant will be well established, and this will just help with the watering. It'll just concentrate the water in to the plant initially. Yeah, and that's really about it once you've popped it in. We'll go through later as they grow and develop the care of them during the summer and how to watch for things like powdery mildew, what to do with powdery mildew, how to care for your courgette and optimise its growth over that time. So, yeah, pleased with that. So, that one, and then I'll get the yellow one on over there, put the stripy one over there, and the scallopini. I'll give them probably a good metre between them that way. It'll be less than a metre this way, but that's fine. They coat quite well. I've done it for years now, so they do all right. Right, I'm just going to keep on with that and I'll bring you back when I'm done. Okay, all four in. That will be heaps for us. Certain people in the family don't eat them. Some mildly will like them and eat them. But I do grate up extra ones and pop them in the freezer for winter and sneak them into things like stews and what have you, or rissoles or fritters, unbeknownst to certain people. Now I'm just going to give these a quick water, and I'm just going to check the water like I was talking in the previous vlog about checking how your water is. Be careful when you do it. I know I've just run this hose a few moments ago, so I know it's not too bad. But even in that short time, it has warmed up. So I've got warm water, and I only ran it maybe 5-10 minutes ago. So that's cool. Yeah. So just check your water, because you don't want to cook your plants with hot water, or yourself. So, you know, be careful when you check it. Now, the other thing is, don't water the leaves, okay? It just increases the chance of things like powdery mildew and other fungal things, and generally can just hurt the plant over the summer. So these are easy enough to find the actual root where they are, but I'll show you what I do with my pumpkins, because I always lose the root with those. So I'm just going to give these a gentle water, because the actual root ball pots were good. They had they were nice and moist. So I just want to gently water them in. Right, just like that, so you can see what the wee dib does. So that's quite good. So right, I'm going to finish watering then, and then we're going to go over and have a look at the pumpkins and get them in. So I'm at the pumpkin bed. Now, it is 1.2 metres wide, and I think it's about 5, maybe 6 metres long. Now, you think that would be big enough, but no, it's never big enough for me. I've finished prepping it. It's had couple of bags of compost. Hello, you're going to come and say hello to everyone? Come here, Lou. Yeah, Lou's just arrived, but he may pop into camera. So yeah, 2 bags of compost, and what I'm going to do is also pop on some sheep pellets underneath it. You may be able to see, no, you may not be. I've also put 5 bamboo canes around. Hello, Louie. They're going to be for my sunflowers that are going to grow up in amongst the pumpkins, just because I thought it looked nice, nothing more than that. And hopefully also maybe bring a few pollinators in if they happen to flower around the same time. Not holding my breath. I'm hoping the canes will be strong enough for the sunflowers. Now, I've got the sunflowers out the other side of the house, and they were hardening off, but I remember now I brought them into the garage a couple of days ago, so I may have undone all the hardening off that I've done, but I'll pop them back out later in the shade and give them another couple of days. I've still got time to get them in. Now, pumpkin-wise, at the moment, I'm going to put 4 in, and if the butternut that I've just checked a few minutes, well, about an hour ago now, do survive and do okay, I'll see if I can cram in a butternut or 2 right down the very end of the bed, and then they can spill over. It will drive my husband nuts, bless him, because he'll end up picking up the pumpkin strolls so he can mow the lawn. But I do it every year, and I get grizzled at every year, but you know, it's just part of being a couple. So what I've got here is a golden nugget, and the golden nugget and the small sugar are the first time I've ever grown these 2, so that I wanted some smaller pumpkins. I mean, I love crown prints, you know, because they're just really nice, dense flesh, beautiful yellow, make awesome soups and other things. And just a great eating pumpkin as well. But they're fairly big, and if there's only 2 of us eating it, or if for whatever reason the family's not around, it's a lot of pumpkin. I end up making soups and chopping up and freezing it and doing all that sort of stuff. But I thought I'd try a couple of small ones. The crown prints are here, and they'll go down the other end. I always put them down the other end because they just grow like triffids, and by having these down this end, which is the northeast end, it just gives these a bit of a chance to get started before the crown prince sort of tries and smothers them. But so I'm going to do exactly what I did before, but I will show you one other thing that I do. Just excuse me for leaning. I'll just pull it out. I put a coloured stake in where I'm going to put my pumpkins, because once they're all leafy and what have you, it's really hard to see the roots. Now, pumpkins will put roots down along their tendrils, but generally you want to make sure that the main root is getting all the goodies. So I just popped this coloured stick in, and this one's got crown pumpkin on it because I seem to have 2 sticks out here with crown pumpkin on, but that's fine. I know that these 2 aren't. But nice bright blue. I can see where I'm watering in that area, and make sure that that's where I pop the food and things like that too, so the extra sheep pellets and what have you. So this goes in, and I do normally plant my pumpkins 2 together. So I'll plant my 2 crown together, just with a tiny gap between them, and they seem to do okay. I don't seem to have any problems with them crowding out roots or anything like that. So, and I'll plant these 2 together. I've accidentally broken the leaf on this one, so I'll trim that up in a minute, but it's got plenty of other leaves. And this one here seems to already be putting out stuff to try and put flowers out, so I need to get them in. So I'll bring you back when I'm done. pumpkins in. So now I'm going to give them a wee drink. As you can see, the garlic's still here. I've just, in between planting the courgettes and prepping this bed and doing them, I gave them a water, but I've been washing off the black fly because it's starting to become a bit of a losing battle there, but I'm still trying. Anyway, back to the pumpkins. So they're all good. We're meant to have cooler weather tomorrow, so they'll give them a day to sort of settle in. And then later in the week, Tuesday's meant to start to warm up. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are meant to be hot. So they'll be happy, I'm sure. So I'm going to give them a wee water, and that'll probably be it for me today. I've got a heap of water now to go and do elsewhere around the house and garden. So I'm going to head off and do all that. And then I've just got some mundane things that we've already done. I've got some more flower boxes I want to plant up once I've done the watering. And if there's time, what else? Well, I've got heaps to do. I've got a list sitting by the computer. I just need to go and check it. But yep, generally happy with that. And later in the week, I absolutely must get look at my Kumara cuttings. They're not looking very healthy, and I'm not sure if they're going to do anything. And I've got some very neglected looking yams that I need to get in as well. So both of those are really late. I probably should have got the yams in at least a month ago. Kumara a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, the cutting thing, I don't know if that worked out that well. I might have to go back next season, because it's way too late now, and do the whole half Kumara with the slip things. But it was worth a try. We'll see how we go. See what I've got, what I can rescue. I don't think there's that much, but we'll have a good look together later in the week. Probably Tuesday, maybe? Yeah, Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll just see how the weather plays out. It's down the side alley, so, you know, if it's a howling easterly, I don't really want to be hanging out there. But if it's a warm northerly, or if it's a bit of a southerly, I'm sheltered from the southerly there, so we'll see how we go. But catch you soon. Catch you later in the week. Good morning. Well, it is Wednesday the 26th. It's about 9-ish in the morning. I was going to do this outside, but unfortunately we're on day 3 of strong easterly winds, so being outside is unpleasant, and it's not the easiest to talk over a howling easterly when it's whistling around you. So what I'm doing this morning is what I promised to read, the lavenders, talking about summer care and a few other things about lavenders. I was, as I said, going to sit outside and do it next to one of the lavenders and explain a bit more about it, but yeah, weather's just not going to do the deed for me, so we'll do it here. I've got a coffee, an early coffee. I thought nothing like a midweek coffee. So what I'll do is, as appropriate as I talk through, I'll pop wee pictures up and things like that, and I will see if I can put my notes either on my Facebook page, which is the same name as the vlog, so it's the Kiwi Barefoot Gardener. So I have a page where I post things, and if I can't do that when I'm editing and what have you, I will put down the email address for me for the vlog and what have you. And if you want the notes, then just give me a quick email and I'll forward them to you as a Word or a PDF. So lavenders, been around as long as any of us can remember, but there are, a lavender is not a lavender is not a lavender. There's basically 4 distinct groups of lavender. So there's English, which is what I've got here at home. There is Italian, Spanish and French lavenders. The one thing that they all have in common is that they like it warm. They need at least 6 hours of sun to flourish. So English lavender is the one I have, which is the one that is the more traditional lavender. It likes, while I say warm climates, it prefers climates like Canterbury's got. So you get the hot summers, but it's okay in the cold winters, that sort of thing. It's got the single, very thin type spike, stem. Yeah, stem's probably the word, with the little flowers at the top. That's the traditional little tiny flowers. It's highly scented. If it's given the right conditions. With English lavender, you only get the one flush per year, but it's also very good for things like drying so that you can use it in culinary stuff. I don't use it for that. I only ever ate lavender once in an ice cream, and yeah, I burped it for the whole week. Wasn't good, but I know some people really enjoy it. But you know, essential oils and all that sort of thing, it's just lovely to have. It is considered to be sort of a bit old-fashioned and granny and what have you, but it is a scent that is just, it's old-fashioned, yes, but it's just one of those ones that remind you of things. Now, the Spanish, the Italian and French lavenders have varying lengths of flowering. So they'll often like flower all year. Well, not all year, I should say all summer. And they will, if cut back after their first flush, I can never remember which one it is, I think it's the Italian, they will give you a second flush. They varying strengths of scent, so, you know, it depends on how much of that smell you want around the garden. The bees, of course, love all the lavenders. They're not going to complain which one you put in. But I do find that the French, Spanish and the Italian do get a lot woodier. So we'll talk about pruning them in a minute. But yeah, whereas the English lavender, if pruned back appropriate, will stay that nice soft foliage. They might get a very slightly woody hub, but nothing compared to the woodiness that the other ones will have, and can get very woody if not pruned back effectively. So as I previously said, all the lavenders like at least 6 hours of sun. As far as soil's concerned, they like a nice, well-draining soil. So if it's clay or claggy, you need to amend your soil to make it nice, free draining. As far as the fertility of your soil, they're not overly fussy. You know, having soil that's not overly fertile is not a biggie, because it is good to give your lavenders some feed during the year, but only twice during the year, because if you do it too much, what happens is that you get, especially if it's a nitrogen-based stuff, you get a lot of foliage with very little flower, and it can potentially reduce the scent of the lavender if you feed it too much. So if you're in an area that receives frosts and what have you, you're better off getting the English lavender as opposed to the other three. So English lavender is much more frost tolerant. One of the other things is that if you're in a coastal area, but like I am, and you get a lot of sea spray, and we get some but not a lot, they really don't like having that salt spray on them. So you're probably better off looking for something else other than a lavender. Growing lavender in a pot as opposed to the ground isn't much difference as far as planting, sun and soil. But because pots dry out quite a lot more, you'll probably end up watering them a bit more. So watering over summer, you don't want to go mad on your watering. Currently, we're getting temps in the low 20s with the occasional spike up. And I've got my lavenders predominantly in with my roses. So I water roughly once a week for the lavenders, but when it's starting to get quite hot, I'll probably go up to twice a week, not just for the lavenders, but also for the roses. But if you've got a pot, and depending what kind of pot it is, you may need to water it a wee bit more. But lavender's drying out between waterings is okay, the soil. But just be aware that your soil drying out too much in a pot, it can become hydrophobic. So that's where the water will just be repelled by the dirt. So you may need to amend your soil in your pot to have some sort of water retaining product. So like I've been using the Zoolite, only just to help it reabsorb the water when you do let your pot dry out. So, you know, for a pot and weather at the moment, I might do twice a week, just, you know, like that. And in the really hot weather, I might do it 3 times a week. And if it's like we've had a whole week of really, really high 20s, it might actually be 4 times a week. The one thing about doing your pots and your lavender in the bed, like we were talking about last week, is give it a good water. Don't just, you know, top water it, you know, for a few moments and then say, oh yeah, I've watered it. It actually needs to have that double watering that we talked about last week, making sure that the soil is completely given saturated, but because it's well draining soil, it's not going to sit, the roots aren't going to sit in wet, soggy soil for any length of time. It's going to get a good drink, it's going to soak it all up, and the soil's going to drain, and then it'll sit there till its next drink. Now, I was talking about feeding just before. So feeding them, you want to give them a long-term feed twice a year after you've pruned them, and then again in the spring. Make sure it's a low nitrogen and it's a slow release one. So I just throw sheep pellets at mine and they seem to love it. So yeah, very rarely throw anything else at them. Now, pruning lavender, it's a wee bit different for each of the lavenders. Not a lot, just a wee bit. So for my English lavenders, I cut them down by probably 3/4 so that they are shaped into a nice little dome. The crown bit is a dome. And I don't find I have any problem with that. When you're looking at pruning lavenders and looking at literature and online and things like that, they talk about cutting back 1/3 or cutting back to so many centimetres above the last growing point and things like that. That's more for the woodier types of lavenders, I would say. Certainly the English lavender, you can just get the clippers and give them. Just remember, like everything, make sure your clippers are clean, so that you've wiped them down so you're not potentially carrying disease from one place to another. And of course that they're sharp, which I always fail on. I really need to get my clippers resharpened again. With the ones that are woodier, they do talk about not cutting into the wood. So if they do get really, really woody, you're probably better off, and I hate to say it, is replacing them and then starting from scratch, because apparently, and I haven't done it for years, I haven't had any of these the other types of lavenders for years, because I didn't like the woody bit, and I probably didn't prune them as much as I should, so they did get woody because I was too busy working and kids and yada yada. So that's why I went with the English lavenders, and I found them much more tolerant to the fact that I only had to give them that one really good prune. Whereas with the Italian, the Spanish and the French lavenders, not cutting them back properly led to a lot of wood, and then when you cut the wood they die back, and yeah, it just becomes a lot of work. So there are some really good online things about how to prune those other lavenders, and I'll put some links. I'll actually link everything I used for getting my notes together for today. So yeah, lavenders, love them. They are great in the garden. They can last years and years and years. The varieties, so while there's the 4 main groups, the varieties within those groups are massive. And some of the most common of the English ones are things like Munstead. Now my brain's forgot the different ones. But the ones that I've got along with the roses along the front, the back border, they are called Loddon Blue, so Lodden. And as I indicated, I think in last week's vlog, they came from a little nursery up in North Canterbury. Excuse me. And he has huge numbers of lavenders, and I'm pretty sure he's still there. But I will find the place online, and I'll put a link in the description, so if anyone in Canterbury wants to go there and have a look at it. The other thing is, if you're driving past, he's literally like a couple of 100 metres off the main road of State Highway 1 as you go through. I can't remember where it is up North Canterbury, but it's between Amberley and Christchurch itself. Pegasus, between Amberley and Pegasus. He's well worth going. I'm not sure about if he's got all his details online. If he has, I will put the details in the thing just down here. He knows his lavenders, and they're great. They're good value too. They're not like really, really expensive. They are good value ones if you compare them to, like the big nurseries, etc. Anyway, that's enough about lavenders because, I'm hoping the weather's going to improve in the next few hours. It is meant to turn northwest, but meant to stay really windy, and it's meant to be windy again tomorrow, exactly the same, easterly in the morning and northwesterly in the afternoon. So I'm hoping to be able to get out definitely this afternoon and get a few things done, but just depends on how strong that northwest is. Right, I'm going to drink my coffee, and I'm going to get a few other things done before I head out and do some potting on that I need to go and do. So I will catch you later. Good morning. Well, it is Friday the 28th of November, and it's just coming up on 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm out here hopefully before the wind really gets started. We've had a whole week of really windy weather. Up around the 35, 40k, sometimes more. The other day it was gusting up to 70, so makes gardening particularly unpleasant, even though it was really, really hot, which was nice because places like the greenhouse, they're absolutely loving it. But you get a bit wind blowing after a while, so you sort of think, go inside where it's not blowing itself to death. So I'm out here this morning to do something that I should have done a month ago, and that is to put in the Kumara slips, which are not looking at all good. We'll look at these in a minute, but I'm really thinking we probably won't get anything out of them. And the very weirdly sprouted yams. So we'll have a look at that. I've actually got the 2 beds that I did yams in last year have actually got heaps of self-sown stuff in there, as what happens normally with yams, because you can never actually find all those tiny half pinky fingernail type size ones in there. So I've actually got a whole lot, so I'm thinking I might just leave them because they're quite established, though they haven't actually had any extra dirt, so I'll see if I can put a wee bit of extra dirt. But I've got the Kumara stuff here, but it is not looking good. So I've got this one, another one with leaves, one that's looking particularly pathetic with one leaf, and the rest, I had about 20 odd of these that I had potted up from the cuttings that I'd taken just before I lifted the Kumara, so that would have been about June-ish, thinking that they would be a good idea. I would save having to do the whole half Kumara and slip thing. The cuttings did really well over winter. Just fed them every 2-3 weeks a new solution of very weak seaweed. When I potted them up, they had huge roots on them, and I thought, yep, good, and that was it. After that, I must admit the foliage when I went to pot them up wasn't looking that great. So I was thinking that they may not last. But anyway, it was an experiment. I'd never done it before. I'd never grown Kumara till last summer because I just always thought it was too cool here for it. But I thought I'd have a go last year. And I did get something. And it was a pretty stink summer as far as summers go. So I thought I'd take the cuttings and see how I went this year. I should have actually... cat's just wandering through. I wonder what the hell it was for a second. It's both Bo and Lou. They're having a bit of a fisticuffs, I think. Yep, they're having fisticuffs. So if suddenly the camera stand falls over, you'll know why, because they're right under it at the moment. They're feeling a bit feisty this morning. Anyway, back to the Kumara. What I should have really done was do the whole half Kumaras and get the slips as well as a backup, but I didn't. So I might get one of these budding things with it. So what I might do is I've actually got a lot of yams, seedlings, tubers, that I had saved, though I'm not sure if they'll be any good because they've got huge long shoots in them. But B, I actually found a stray packet of red yams lurking in a completely weird spot at the Mitre 10 that I go to. I think someone must have picked them up to buy them and then decided later that they didn't want them and just dumped them on any shelf, which actually turned out to be really good for me because when I went to the shelf that had all the yams, there were no red ones, only yellow ones again, and I really wanted the red ones because I've got plenty of yellow ones as seedlings, seed tubers. So it was just sheer luck. But anyway, they've been sitting in the bottom shelf of where I keep all my seeds, and they have sprouted. I really need to get them into the dirt. So that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to shut up now, and I'm going to go out and find my little spade or my diggy knife. Go do that, and then we'll have a look at what I got. And I might have to go up and break that fight up because they're starting to look pretty mean at each other. Nothing like brothers fighting. Right, and my digging knife. I was using it in the greenhouse yesterday. And I've popped some Super Grow compost dot in here just now. Here's a better view of my Kumara thing. So that's the best one. The rest are looking pretty damn sad. Excuse me reaching, but that's what happened to most of them. So, I've actually found 5 that have got some sign of life. I'm not hopeful for at least 2 of them, but we'll try them and see what happens. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is just get this ready prepped and we'll then come back to it in between refereeing cat fights. Last year I put 4 slips to a bed, but this year I think I'll just do 2, well maybe 3 on the not so great one. Definitely this one's going to go well, and probably that's the next best, so not great, but it is what it is. It's the joys of gardening. So let's see what happens with these. So where's the best view for you there? Probably, sorry. Just trying to get you a good view so that you can see it. It's got soil underneath is a wee bit sandy, so it's had quite a lot of stuff, good stuff taken out of it and being baked. But it's got a good, probably 15 centimetres, 10 to 15 centimetres of good stuff on top. I'll add lots of sheep pellets as the season goes. I'm a bit short on sheep pellets this week, so I won't need them today. But I'll get some next week when I'm in town from my usual run. Now, moment of truth. I'm not hopeful, but we shall see. Yeah, I mean, they're the roots that I put in. Some of them have rotted, so that'll be why. I'm wondering if it's just because I kept it too wet. Yeah, Mr. Worm in there though. Okay, we shall see if this picks up once it's in a bed. once it's got a bit of soil that's not... I probably overwatered it in the greenhouse because I was watering everything else regularly in there, and because it was lots of seeds and things, seedlings that needed regular watering, because once they start to germinate, you've got to keep them, or even before they germinate, of course, you've got to keep the soil moist, and I probably overdid it with the watering, so that's a bit of a shame. So probably a lesson learnt there that Kumara don't like wet feet. But as you can see how dry that soil is and how sandy it is, but it'll be okay once I've done what I need to do to it. Right. And if these don't work out, they don't work out, and I'll just do it again next year. Come on. Out you come. Yeah. That's about the same, though it has got some real roots just there. Sorry, I'd pull it over closer, except for the fact that it's all falling apart in my hand. So we'll just pop him in there. So he does actually have some roots. So see how he goes. He's probably the best chance, that one. Rightio. So anyway, I'll go and put the rest of them in a minute, and then we'll go on to the yams and we'll have a look at what I've got. I've got way too many yams. I'll probably just rest them away to anyone who wants to pop them in. I've got some gardening buddies that we are getting together next week, so I can always give them out then, and they can plant them up if they want to. Anyway, I shall keep moving and catch you with the yams in a few moments. Okay, so the Kumara's in, which is good. So I got 2 in one bed and then 4 very dodgy ones in the other bed, which leaves me one of the Kumara beds from last year, which I'm going to turn into a yam bed. And even though, you know, you need to contain yams, putting them in your general garden, you need to put them in the same spot every year, otherwise you'll have yams popping up everywhere. If I turn this back into a Kumara bed next year and I do get yams popping back up, I'll just pluck them out. So it's, you know, a nice small contained spot. So anyway, yams. Right, so I did keep some of my yams from last year. They weren't in the plastic bag originally. Someone in the house has put them in there. I'm not quite sure why, but they did. So these ones aren't looking the best. So these are the ones that I kept from last year. They, they are probably a bit past their use by date and probably just need to go into the organic bin. I won't put them in the compost because I'll have yams everywhere. So yeah, that's a bit of a shame, but I had them in a cool, dry, dark place initially. Then I pulled them out so that they would chit, you know, sprout. Someone put them in a plastic bag. I'm not sure who. I got a pretty good idea, but sorry, bug. Yeah, anyway, so they're stuffed basically. The sheets are just too long, so no good for me. But I've got plenty of probable yellow ones over here that have self-sown. But I did really want some red ones because I prefer the red ones to the yellow ones myself. And as I said earlier, I lucked out and found this bag, but they have been in a place that they probably shouldn't have been, on the shelf, and some of them have gone a bit yet. But generally, if I can tease one out, they've chitted, so they're ready to go in. So I'll pop some of these in. Some of them will just go into the yellow bin, green bin as well. So yeah, that one's okay. Yep. I'll choose the best and get them in. Probably only need a maximum of 6 in this bed, and that's probably pushing it. But yeah, maybe. That's on the maybe side. It's got a few icky bits on it that might not be. Yeah, that's a good one. That one. I just need really one more good one. Actually, I don't think the rest of these will be much good to give to anyone. That one's a dodgy one, looking one. That one. There we go. So that's 6 good ones, and I'll get rid of the rest, which is a shame. But they've started to rot in places because they've just been kept in the wrong conditions, which is entirely my fault. I popped them in a spot that I thought would be good, and somehow they got moved to another spot, probably in one of my tidying things. So, it is what it is. So, I'll get those in, and just like spuds, it's, you know, chits up, though some of them are a bit weird. And they should take off, hopefully. It is really late. I mean, in theory, I am still in spring by a couple of days. They probably should have gone in a month ago, but they'll still have a good 7 months to June, when we normally start getting good frosts, so that they'll die back. So yeah, hopefully I'll get something out of them, and enough that I'll get enough big red ones that I can at least put half a dozen, maybe a dozen away for next season's seed tubers. But we'll see how we go, and hopefully I won't do this to them again, but you live and learn. Right, I'm going to do this, and then we're going to quickly just look at the ones that I've already done. So I'll just get on with this, and I'll show you the ones I've done. Well, no, sorry, I didn't do them, did I? That's a bit of a cheat. They're self-seeded, but I'm going to top them up, but we'll just have a look at how they're going. So, back soon. These are my self-sown ones. They're looking okay, but the soil's really sandy, and I haven't fed them, and I've really neglected them. They've had the odd water. I originally was going to just turf them out, and because my plan had been that I was going to go through all these beds and check them for grass grub, because grass grub like yams, and you can find them in. Last year I did that, last winter, well, not the winter we've had just, but the winter before. I went through and I got rid of all the grass grubs and refilled the beds and did everything I needed to them. Didn't get around to it this winter, just ran out of time for a number of reasons. But these have sprouted, so I'll just take advantage of them now. I think they're probably majority of yellow. I did find 1 or 2 red ones in there when I harvested, which I think had been from the previous year. So anyway, they just, I mean, hang on a second. The soil, I don't know if you can see through there, is really sandy. It's just nothing in it. It's lost all its structure. So I'm just going to get my bag of Super Grow and pop things in around it, and see if I can help them with a wee bit of a boost, and see if I can get a harvest out of them, seeing they are self-sown. But I'll get on with this, and I'll catch up with you soon for a cup of coffee and a natter. So it's time for a coffee and a chat, and I need that coffee. I've just come in from doing the Kumara and the yams, and as you can see from my top, I had a bit of an argument with compost bag. So as I said right at the beginning of the vlogs, way back in May, you get me as you get me, dirt and all. So what do we do this week? Well, one of the first things that we did this week was plant the cucurbits. So the cucurbits are things like pumpkins, courgettes, scallopini, melons, all that sort of thing. And what I needed to do was get my pumpkins and my courgettes, scallopinis in. So I got them in, which is great. With the pumpkins, I also popped in a whole lot of stakes for some sunflowers, which will go in this weekend. I'm still hardening them off. Unfortunately, I forgot something. I forgot to put the cat protections up around the courgettes and the scallopini, and the 2 of the courgettes have come a cropper, cat damage. So that was my yellow one and my stripy one. So I had the option of either planting more seeds in pots and doing the whole propagation thing that way, or just doing direct sowing because it's warm enough now to do that. So each my becks, I popped 2 seeds in for each of those. So we'll just have to see how they go. Fingers crossed that they go all right, and that I get new plants. I have put up major cat protection now. It looks like a forest of little bamboo sticks, but yeah, it is what it is. You've got to protect your stuff as best as you can from your fur babies. Then we did a chat about lavenders and lavender care. Now, if anyone, I won't go into it now, but if anyone wants notes that I took, I did about 4 pages of notes using references from all over New Zealand. If you would like them, just send me an email. I'll pop the email down below, and I'm quite happy to flick them off to you. And of course today I finally got my Kumara slips in and my yams. The Kumara slips were disappointing, but it was all an experiment and a learning thing. I'd never grown Kumara before last year and thought, yep, great idea, take the cuttings and see if I can keep them going all year, all winter. And they did do quite well for a long time, but then they sort of started packing a sad, so I thought I'd put them in dirt. Kept them in the greenhouse thinking that the warts would be good for them, but I think I overwatered them. Because I was in there watering frequently for seedlings and things like that, I'd give them a drink. And I obviously overwatered them because you can see that the roots were starting to rot. Also, I found some nematodes. Now, I'm not really au fait with what nematodes do, so I need to go and have a look up and do a bit of research about that. So I'm not sure if they affected them at all. I got the yams in as well, which is good, and I've got those self-seeded yams. So we'll just have to see how things go with that as well, because I didn't get through the beds and check out the soil for grass grubs, because grass grubs will eat yams, unfortunately. But it is what it is. So we'll just, next winter, well, this coming winter, I'll just have to really put that high on my priority lists of things to do and get through all those raised beds and rejuvenate the soil and things. Well, I've been out since early this morning to beat the heat, so I've got my coffee and I'm desperate for it, so I'm going to go and sit down and drink that. Bo's lurking out a camera shot at the moment, just wanting to know what the hell am I doing because I'm sitting on his seat. But as far as gardening is concerned, I'm off out there again in a few minutes and keep going. It's a beautiful day, no howling wind for the first day in almost 4 or 5 days. So yeah, really looking forward to just having a nice day out with not being blown to bits. But I'm hoping you're having a good time in your garden and that your garden is giving you plenty. It's that time of year where the garden starts to give strawberries, raspberries and all that sort of thing. Flowers are out and it's just really nice to be out there. So I'm going to wish you a happy and safe week in the garden. And from me, for now, bye.